some people are visual learners, and if you're a visual learner and you're learning a language, you need to make a visual representation of what you're learning. So if the song, as usual, it's usually a love story, draw out what you think they're saying. Man dumps woman, woman gets mad, woman calls him in a rage, whatever it is. It's a soap opera, draw it out.
Yeah, picture it.
Yeah, you need a picture. Another thing is just play the song in your head. Like, do you notice when you get a song stuck in your head, let's say the U2 song stuck in your head, it's Bono that's singing in your head, not you.
Right.
So in order for you to be able to reproduce the sounds of the language, play the song in your head. And when you're playing it in your head, you're not going to have an accent. But you need to train your mind in such a way that you can reproduce Shakira or Mark Anthony or whoever in your head. If you listen to Mark Anthony over and over again the same song, eventually it's going to stick in your head. So then you start trying to sing it. You sing along.
So
and it doesn't matter.
Sing in the shower, sing in the car, sing along.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you have a bad voice. Who cares? It really doesn't matter. Just sing along because you need to get into the rhythm of the language. And, if you were with friends, you have a little contest. Who can sing Shakira better? Who can do the hip movements while they're singing? Whatever, make it fun.
So, and going back to, you had mentioned the radio and then there's TV, things like that. But what if you don't have a local radio station in a different language, or you don't have a TV station in, a different language? Where else can you go to find that?
There are actually plenty of, that's a really good question, because obviously I live in Silicon Valley in California where there are people from all sorts of different countries, so I can get Filipino news or whatever on my local TV station. If you aren't in a situation like that, you can go on the Internet, and there are Google directories and Yahoo directories for TV stations all over the world. And let's say you don't care, you just want a TV station in Spanish. You don't care if it's from Mexico or Honduras or Argentina or whatever. You can just go under a Google directory for TV stations in Spanish or in Latin America. And you can find all these different TV stations. And let's say you only want to watch soccer games in Spanish and listen to soccer commentary in Spanish. Well, you can find sports shows, either the radio shows or the TV shows or, whatever, and watch or listen to those through the Internet. And you could probably, find even free podcasts on iTunes that, you could download to your computer, or if you have an MP3 or an iPod player, they could just, you could listen to them on your iPod in Spanish or whatever language it happens to be. So the resources are out there, even if you don't live in an area that has them readily available on your TV or your radio.
Right, okay. Well, so once you've started listening, you've started singing, when you're in the bathroom or in the car, so you started singing and you're starting to get the language. Now, what about conversing with people? I would assume that would be important to do. Where do you go if you don't have anyone who speaks that language? Where can you go to converse with people and really practice having conversations?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So conversation exchange is huge, and I was able to improve my Spanish and my Italian when I was in college because I had conversation partners. So that was a free way to do it. So one of the things, I happened to be a student at the time, so the local YMCA or YWCA did these conversation exchange things, so I could say which language I wanted to practice, and the other people said what language that they could practice. Another thing to do is to go on Craigslist. In Craigslist, under the community section, you could put an activity partner section. You can say that you want to do a conversation exchange. Let's say you're a native English speaker and you want to learn Japanese, so you say, I want to do an exchange for Japanese. So that means that you maybe meet like once a week with this person and you speak half the time in your language and half the time in their language. Okay. And it's a really great way to do it. Now, if somebody is shy and they really feel weird sitting for half an hour in a cafe just staring at some stranger and trying to speak another language, I can understand that can be very daunting and kind of boring, perhaps. You need to find an activity that both of you like to do. So if both of you happen to have the same shopping route, you go grocery shopping the same day or same area, go grocery shopping together and discuss what the foods are in both languages, what you cook, or cook together, or if you both like a certain hobby, whatever, like if you both like soccer or you both like whatever, you go to the same type of movies. You do activities together that you both enjoy, so the activity already gives you a conversation piece, and then you just switch languages having it.
Gotcha.
Now, Yeah, that works. Now, let's say you're living in, middle of nowhere in Iowa, and you want to learn Japanese. Well, it's possible that you're not going to find a Japanese-speaking person in your immediate vicinity. So you can find a conversation partner on the Internet. And that does mean it's a bit more difficult, Melissa, because you can understand somebody much better when they're in front of you and you see their gestures and,
right.
They're using their hands and, you can figure out what they're saying. But on the Internet, if you're speaking to somebody, let's say over Skype, you don't see their gestures unless you have a video. And it's a bit harder. Webcam, right, that's right. But there are websites that provide that. There's livemocha.com, mylanguageexchange.com, sharetalk.com. There are a lot of different websites. I have a whole list in the book. And you can find people to speak to for free over the Internet. And, they might be wanting to learn your language. So, again, you spend half the time helping them, and they spend half the time helping you. And in that case, let's say somebody is a lawyer here in the United States and they're preparing to go to Japan to work in a law firm. They might want to have a conversation exchange with a Japanese lawyer. So that way they can talk about legal stuff in Japanese. So you can do that. You can look for people who have similar professional interests or extracurricular interests that you do.
Right. Well, that's great. And now, as we're wrapping up, are there any other important tips that you wanted to point out?
Mm-hmm. Another thing, I learned a lot also by watching TV and watching movies. The important thing with watching movies is if you're getting a movie in another language, make sure it's not dubbed. Make sure it's in the original, and try as much as possible to watch the language without subtitles. Obviously, if you're a beginner, you're going to need the subtitles. Right. But eventually cover up the subtitles and just listen and see how much you can understand by paying attention. That's a really big one.
Yeah, well, perfect. And going back to when you said if you're a visual learner, movies and TV, those are going to be some big, great ways to learn.
Yes. Those are really important ways. Another thing I love to tell people is to make their to-do list in the language.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Because you need to get the language in your everyday life. So make your shopping list in the language. If you're bored and you're in a meeting at work and you want to doodle, but you want people to see that you're doodling, start writing something in that other language. It's really great if the language is a rare one that has a different alphabet, and most likely the person next to you doesn't know that alphabet. So they don't know that you're writing your shopping list. They think that you're taking notes for the meeting.
Yeah. Well, those are all such great. The book was filled with so many different bits of advice, and you've shared a lot of great bits of advice here. But what if people want to actually read the book? Where can they go to purchase it?
Sure. It's called Language is Music, and again, my name is Susanna Zaraysky, and they can buy it at languageismusic.com at my website, or they can order it through Amazon, BarnesandNobles.com, or through their local bookstore. It's very easy. Language is Music. And my last name is very hard to pronounce, but I'm the only one called Susanna with the last name that starts with a Z that has a book called Language is Music.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much